funniest fruit in the game completely removed forever, a game pass deleted, and even a banned loading screen. Today we're going to look at all the things that have been removed from Blox Fruits. Starting with the Blox Fruits Gacha, which changed 3 times and wasn't originally this gacha. At first it was the Blox Fruits trader, who wore a suit and had a small mustache. It was a bit shady but not the worst. It's basically the same as the current Blox Fruits gacha, just without today's cinematic. Then it was changed for the first time and replaced by Ciolis, who is an admin of the game, but at that time he was black. Then in update 27 of Blox Fruits, it was changed again to become Blob. So it's a bit weird because update 27 was in the summer, and yet he didn't get a tan, he actually lost his tan. And the next one is the worst fruit in the game, which looked nothing like this at the beginning of Blox Fruits. It was put in the shop for only 50 bucks. And you can see that there were always the same number of moves, right? So 4 moves, but they were all replaced, even the fruit model, which is no longer the same. So you can see 10,000 kilos, which is literally a move where you smash into the ground, basically increasing your weight. And you can also do it if you use its strings in the air to deal more damage. The video doesn't show any damage, which is odd. You see 20,000 kilos moved forward this time. Finally, 50,000 kilos cause a much bigger explosion than before. And you could also, well, fly off. It was super fun to land and use the weight. And of course, we'll all miss it. It's the 1 kilo move that everyone used back then. But now you can see that Rocket has replaced all the moves. I did lie a bit though. The fruit isn't fully removed since admins or some YouTubers still own it. Still, we can spot a few remnants. Remnants of the Kilo Fruit, which the community and I miss most along with the Kilo Admiral boss. I still have all the Kilo Fruit moves. It brings back great memories. And guys, I prefer to warn you, but this is nothing compared to what's coming a bit later in this video. And for the next one, Rip and Rai, clearly inspired by Imu from One Piece. Simply because if we go to Snow Island and I stand right here, there used to be a Poneglyph. Information that the admins apparently didn't want us to find since they just removed it. All credit goes to official newbie since he was the only one playing then. He's level 1100 and runs straight into it. There was also one on Blue Flower Island, which makes 2, but don't worry, they didn't remove everything since they put the writings back in the red light in the pyramid at the end. So that's the very last island of the red. Why did they do that? I don't think they rewrote everything, that's my theory. The video about these theories is relevant, especially since it was inspired by One Piece and they wanted to avoid copyright issues. But do you know what else they removed? Well, I'm talking about, well, it's right in front of you actually. Yeah, it's this inventory. Because at the beginning of Blox Fruits, we didn't have an inventory, it was just you and you. Actually, it was more like you and your chest. So we're in 2019 at that time. I was there and it was awful. Look, you couldn't actually store your fruits, your weapons. You always had to go to the island where the chest was. It was either the middle island or the Marines island. You can see the chest on the middle island. Also notice the old light animations. Definitely something we don't want to see again. And for the next thing that was removed from the game, did you know that before fragments didn't exist in Blox Fruits? Well, almost, because everything happened on this island with the boss Blackbeard. If you managed to kill him back then, which was much harder, you'd see 18 people on the boss for over 3 minutes. The rare artifact had just a 1 in 100 drop chance. And it could be useful, for example, to buy the flower ship, which no longer exists, plus the lamp boat, the dragon, the kabocha, the stat reset, and the race reroll. Well, don't worry, it was removed in update 11. But the only person we've seen with it is actually Kid Gaming. It's really one of the coolest items to flex in the game. It really looks like Gojo is sealed inside. That's a devil fruit in Blox Fruits. You can see the model is really well made. The fruits move. Previously, the fruits looked more like their original design. If you look at the old fruits, they were much squarer and similar to the One Piece anime. They were nice too, especially the mythical fruits, which were already starting to show faces. But at that time, they were very square and could be made even squarer. You can see the dragon fruit, and only Totobuki stood out. Otherwise, all were square with One Piece devil fruit patterns. But when Blox Fruits was first released, the fruits were completely round, like gravity here. Here's how the fruits looked when Blox Fruits launched in 2019. Much rounder than today, they've changed a lot. The next change is on the portal fruit, which looks beautiful now, but it wasn't always that way. And yes, because when it was released in update 15, it was the door fruit, so thanks to Kid Gaming for showing us this. So we had spinning doors, so it was clearly a teleportation with a door hit, I guess. We don't have time to see it, it's so fast. We had Dimensional Portal, which looks a lot like Portal's X move that we have now and takes us to another dimension. It's basically the same thing, right? And look, it even did damage to the mob that went through the door, just like it does now, by the way. Even the death animations were really different back then. It really looked like Lego. Next, for Sound Mastery, we have All Way, which is simply also the same move as Portal, right? You can make a door to teleport, which I imagine also does damage to NPCs. And of course, the ultimate move that allowed us to teleport. Just like before, in the 200 Masteries, so Gore Gateway, which lets us teleport. But just like today, actually. You can even see their reaction at that moment. They were totally shocked. We can still do it today. It's actually even longer now than before. But but it had to be removed because it was way too similar to the fruit from One Piece. It was literally the same thing. Death King has been completely patched, and because if you talk to him now, he asks you, hey, do you have any bones? Simply because you can trade your bones with him 10 times every 2 hours for a random surprise. So it could be XP, money, and a fire essence that was there for the Dragon Talon back then. But aside from that, it was kind of, well, it was a bit boring. We got a little bored. However, before you could buy it 20 times every 2 hours. And on top of that, you could also get devil fruits from it. Poor Death King. You could say he's dead. It's because before he used to give more fruits, and honestly there was no point in doing that, but I think people just wanted to farm all the time in that spot, and that's why they did it in my humble opinion. And it's also a major change, just like the next one, which is the name of the game. Literally, it's called Blox Free now, but it used to be Blox Peace. The images were the same as this one. And you can imagine that it couldn't last for them. Because of copyrights, their game got taken down. And let me tell you, in the same vein, there's definitely one that still stands out to me even today. It's literally the removal of the soul fruit, which has now been replaced by spirit. So you can see there's a demon on the right and an angel on the left. But before, it wasn't like that at all, not even the moves. It was much cooler and had more aura. The cloud and the sun, just like in One Piece. Presented by Kid Gaming thanks to him. The first move, Soul Absorption, was just like in One Piece and looked super clean. But it had to be changed quickly due to copyright reasons. You can still see some old moves left. So for example, Wrath of Ra, which hasn't been changed. It's literally the same thing. Same for the familiars, which are not the same at all anymore. Now they're mushrooms, trees. The tree stayed, so the tree was always there. We don't know why actually, but before there was a flower, which is now replaced by the mushroom. A lollipop that gives you back health. The next move, which clearly has the same name as in One Piece, the Hook Rage Raging, said by Big Mom. Look at this. Literally lightning bolts that would strike the enemies around. That really annoys me. It looked really cool, but unfortunately the range wasn't great. End of Time, which was more fiery than icy, and the Sky Roller, except we'd ride on the cloud, which makes sense. There. Yes, I believe there was once a rework of the rework. Or just bring back the old one. The next thing that was removed annoys me just as much. At Banana Boutique, you can see the speedboat. For 350 bucks, you get your hands on a huge boat with 2 engines. You might think it's really cool, and it is, but before you could see it looked a lot more like One Piece. It was clearly Ace's boat. A lot of people even called it the banana boat because of its shape. And it was super original. But unfortunately, like many things in Blox Free, it was removed due to copyright. However, some new changes in Blox Free are great, like the Ghost Fruit, an amazing model and fruit, both beautiful and smooth. It has a unique ability that literally freezes enemies. Apart from ice, only Soul Chain can do that. Speaking of Soul Chain, there used to be the Revive Fruit, which was all green, less attractive and rarely used. As you can see, the move was kind of the same overall. The first move wasn't that bad, but then Soul Roller the Skull, well, Resurrection, no animation. Of course, you had to die. You turned into a skeleton. It had the benefit of looking cool, but it was much weaker than it is now. Now you turn into a ghost. Crisis of the World, which didn't exist before. And Ghostbuster, which summons 2 entities in addition to us. So it's like multi-cloning ghosts. You could say it's kind of a Revive V2 in the end, guys. We need to revisit old Kid Gammon videos with 100,000 views, which is impressive. Kid Gammon probably didn't expect what happened. Notice the flying. It wasn't too bad, maybe a bit, but it looked like Brook, which is why it was removed. There's also an interesting Easter egg. If you die a second time in skeleton mode with Revive, you die like the Professor meme, showing his skeleton. That's a cool Easter egg.
Next, let's talk about the Dark Blade,
which, as you can see before,
looks so much like Mihawk's in One Piece.
Much thinner as well. The animation itself was completely different. You can also teleport. That hasn't changed. The animation was much stiffer than before. The slash is literally the same. By the way, the X there is almost the same. Still, it's a bit nicer on the right. And when I charged it, you can see that the slash went so much farther. The Dark Blade V3 too, right? Which is just a black and white skin, by the way. But it's interesting to see that the Dark Blade was so much smaller than before. It's now the size of Shanks' saber.
It's even bigger
than the old Dark Blade. The new Dark Blade is the longest sword in the game, along with the Shark Charizard. But you can also notice that now, in the shop, we can equip our permanent fruits. Finally, that's great. Well, no, it's probably always been like that for you, probably. So now we can switch. I switched from Control to Rocket in literally 2 clicks. But before, you just had to talk to the Blossom Dealer who's in every scene to equip your permanent fruits. So you had to go back every time. And when they added this feature, guys, it was a game you really had to experience. Like the box where you had to store your fruits and weapons, you really had to be there. You had to go through the struggle back then to appreciate Block Fruit now, I think. The next one is also a rework that we absolutely don't regret, so it's the Love Fruit, which has amazing attacks. Very beautiful. A fruit that is extremely strong. You can even fly. It's really original to fly while literally doing your attacks, and you can even summon your best friend. He can ride with us or fight with a weapon, which is very strong. Here's how the model looked before. It still has the square style with visible stone, referencing Boa Hancock, who turns people to stone. It looked too much like Boa Hancock's fruit. We still had the heart with move 2, but now it was darts. The resemblance to Boa Hancock was strong. The attraction move stayed basically the same, just reworked. And finally, the most Boa Hancock-like move we've seen, which is literally a dash with kicks. So that's her move, Perfume Femur. That attack was cool, but it was replaced by the Hydra Saiyan, the female islander, though I forget her name. She had the Love Fruit, but was removed more recently than the Love Fruit. Same for Spider, which was formerly String. Even the model looked similar back then. Really stylish with the little string details on the top of the fruit, with literally the needle sticking out at the top. We had the Z move like Doflamingo. It was a rainbow move. That was beautiful. Multi-string attack. You see, same thing. A move that pins him to the ground. The sniper move hasn't changed today. Now there's the pattern. And the V move was good. Aside from the first move, we honestly don't miss it. The movement was like that, and the voice box is unchanged, though it's smoother now. The attacks are mostly the same, but now we have the sniper scope, which is much nicer after the rework.
The ultimate is better looking.
The fly is completely different too, right? Much faster as well on the V1. Next, we move on to the worst race in the game, which is Uma. So Uma V3 has been reworked since then, right? It's no longer the worst race in the game. But before, when we activated the V3, because now when you activate the V3 like I did, the heavier you are, the more damage you deal, and it's capped at 52% more damage. So if you have 1 HP, you'll be at 52%. However, before, when you activated this ability, it wasn't the same at all, right? It was a circle around us. And well, you would just lose health, actually.
What, bro? What are you talking about, man?
You didn't decide whether you wanted to activate it when you were heavy or not. The race just made you lose health. Health. So it was like my health was going down. Well, which was pretty, well, I can't say the word on YouTube, right? And for the last thing that was removed from the game, it's simply the World of Pillars. So it's kind of like the world, well, more like Obito's Kamui. So the only way to get in here was either by being an admin or by using a glitch to access it as a regular player. But once you were inside, make no mistake, because you simply couldn't get out anymore. Even if you left the game or even if you literally died in the game, you couldn't get out. So it's a world that's literally just for decoration, you know? You can use these fruits, but that's it. It can look cool for battles or to imitate Obito. And for the next part, we're going to talk about PvP. Because now, if you kill a person 3 times in the same day, you literally can't kill them anymore for 3 days. This prevents people from getting all their shooting balls stolen or from farming someone. But before, it was non-stop piracy, just like the Bloodstreak loading screen, by the way, which has changed. It used to feature Baggy the Clown. And speaking of PvP, you now need to be close to the other person's level to PvP with a maximum difference of 500 levels. It used to be more of a free-for-all, as you would just spawn at level 1. And you could get killed by the max level players in the game instantly just like that, and you would quit the game because it was impossible to farm, so it was removed very quickly. We used to take the politicians' fireballs for free, but now we can't. We can't even pretend we're at 30 million. This is my real fireball. I can't fake it anymore.